Chapter 450. The Mountain River stage had gathered all the young heroes of the southern sector. Some of them appreciated each other, some of them didn't like each other no matter how they looked at each other. There were also some who fanned the flames and sat on the stage calmly. At this moment, the top young heroes of the younger generation had formed a small jianghu. From the east, a chilling aura blew over. Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked over. On the small island next to the lake, a tall and slender beauty with long black hair and eyebrows all the way to her temples walked over. She was wearing a sky blue dress, and her shoulders were slightly broad. Her aura was quite strong, and her charm was not lacking in gentleness, and her gentleness was not lacking in aggressiveness. If one had to describe her, she was like a valkyrie, a female emperor, a contradiction between gentleness and aggressiveness. Every man could find a side of her that they liked. She was none other than the Thunder Princess, whose fame had gradually surpassed the Edict Prince, the host of this martial tea gathering. Everyone, Jing Aoshuan has arrived a bit late. My apologies. The Thunder Princess, who was wearing a sky blue dress, walked onto the Mountain River stage. Her eyes were as sharp as thunder as she looked around and cupped her fists. What a heroine, a female emperor! Yi Chan had said two things in total when he arrived at the Mountain River stage. The first was the Mountain River stage, and the second was the Thunder Princess. It was easy to see how strong the feeling she gave him was. Not at all, not at all. We've only just arrived. Princess Jing, how have you been? Since the host is here, then the martial tea gathering should begin. Everyone was being polite, exchanging greetings. Of course, there were also some who couldn't wait. The Thunder Princess nodded and said, just like the previous times, everyone please take a seat according to your region. The Mountain River stage had a total of hundreds of pavilions. Inside each pavilion were tables and chairs, giving off an ancient feeling. Beside them, there were also well-trained and beautiful attendants. Hearing this, the young elites of each domain gathered together and chose a few neighboring pavilions to sit down. Yi Chan and the others chose 3 pavilions in the south and sat down separately. Glancing over, Yi Chan noticed that Si Kongshang and the 2 young men in black robes had chosen a pavilion nearby. Gu Yun was sitting with them, and as for Li Jie, he had not reached the qualification to enter the Mianxiu garden yet. Looking at it this way, not counting the 2 men in black robes including Si Kongshang, there were only 17 warriors from the entire southern region. It was obvious that they were the side with the least number of warriors. The mountain region had about the same number of people as the South Rudra region. There were 20 people in total. Among these 20 people, it was obvious that the young man in the white robe and the young man in the blue robe were the leaders. The rest of them were not as powerful. Besides the South Rudra region and the mountain region, the other regions would be one level higher. Among them, the Black Gold region, the Wavy Cloud region, and the Misty Snow region would be one level higher with 35, 40, and 38 people respectively. The other 2 regions outside of the South region would be the Fire Swamp region and the Snow Iron region. The Fire Swamp region would have 36 people, while the Snow Iron region would have 42. Going up another level would be another level. The Gold Sand region, where the Astral Spirit Sun was, had 55 people. The Edict Prince's Floating Light region had 60 people. The region with the most people was naturally the Thunder region, which had 78 people and occupied 15 pavilions. All in all, there would be young elites from 10 regions participating in this tea gathering. Thunder region, Floating Light region, Gold Sand region, Wavy Cloud region, Misty Snow region, Black Gold region, Mountain region, South Rudra region, Fire Swamp region, and Snow Iron region. This might not be accurate, because the 2 black-robed young men with Si Kongshang were obviously not young elites from any of the regions. In Yi Chen's pavilion there were only 3 people. Yi Chan Tuabaku, and a new top genius from the South Rudra region called Mu Lingfeng. Mu Lingfeng was not a disciple of a 6th grade sect, but a 7th grade sect. In the last Hidden Dragon ranking, he had also amazed the world with a single brilliant feat, obtaining the 3rd rank of the Hidden Dragon ranking, which simply shocked everyone. As for Murong Qingcheng, she was sitting in another pavilion. She was, after all, a disciple of the Sky Demon Martial School, so she had to sit with the people of the Sky Demon Martial School. Moreover, Mo Yin and Yi Chan didn't get along well. Although he was the representative of the Sky Demon Martial School, Mu Lingfeng didn't have any temper in front of Yi Chan. and was even somewhat restrained. It should be known that Yi-chan was not much older than him, only a year and a half difference. It was just that Yi-chan had made his debut 1 year earlier than him. Tuobaku chuckled and said to Mu Lingfeng, "Relax, it's not like he's going to eat you." Hearing him, Mu Lingfeng smiled awkwardly. He didn't know what was going on with him. Sitting together with Yi-chan, he felt a lot of pressure. Others didn't feel the same way, not even Tuobaku. Yi-chan smiled at him and didn't say anything. The table was filled with all kinds of desserts and fruits. Some of the desserts and fruits were unheard of. There was also a beautiful attendant brewing tea. The strong fragrance of tea wafted through the air. With just a sniff, one would feel the endless aftertaste and feel relaxed and happy. Right then, the voice of the Thunder Princess was heard from afar. The martial tea gathering is held once every 2 years. It is a gathering for everyone to exchange pointers. I hope that everyone will not be too reserved. Sipping tea while watching others battle. Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? Edict Prince, the host of the last tea gathering, continued. What the Thunder Princess said is correct. Those who can participate in the martial tea gathering are all outstanding talents. Since you are here, don't bother about winning or losing. What you need to worry about is whether you have comprehended something or not, whether you have improved or not. This is the true purpose of the martial tea gathering. Since the Thunder Princess and the Edict Prince have said so, let me start. I am Black Gold Region's Hua Feng. Who is willing to battle with me? Hua Feng was not worried about the appearance of a young elite, whose strength was much higher than his. The martial tea gathering would be held in this place. Before going up to battle, he would first estimate his opponent's strength. If he felt that he was about the same level as his opponent, then he would go up. If he felt that he was much stronger, then he would not go up at all. So what if he won? The opponent was not the Edict Prince or the Thunder Princess. I, Lin Hao of the Misty Snow region, will battle you. Shoo! From the pavilion of the Misty Snow region, a figure shot out. Please advise me. Please advise me. The two were dozens of meters away from each other as they cupped their fists. Suddenly, their gazes sharpened as they stared at each other without blinking, looking for an opportunity to attack. Hua Feng took the initiative and attacked. Lin Hao did not dare to be careless as he raised his sword to meet the attack. One of them used a hammer while the other used a sword. The two were locked in a fierce battle, causing the air to vibrate. In the end, it was still Hua Feng who came out on top and won the first battle of the martial tea gathering. With a start, the rest was easy. The young elites of each domain appeared one after another, sometimes even having 2 or 3 matches at the same time. Gorgeous true essence reflected a rainbow of colors, and wonderful martial skills appeared one after another. It was incomparably gorgeous. Everyone in the pavilion was drinking tea as they watched the matches. It was a very pleasant sight. During this time, a few people from the South Rudra region also stepped up. They were all famous young geniuses of this year. However, the gap between them and the geniuses from other regions was too huge. Without exception, all of them lost, which made Yan Qihua and the others faintly crease their brows. Haha, is there no one in your South Rudra region? Let your strongest person come up. I will defeat him by myself. After defeating a genius from the South Rudra region, the yellow-haired youngster pointed at the pavilion of the South Rudra region with an extremely arrogant expression. All of a sudden, everyone looked in the direction of the South Rudra region. There is indeed no one in the South Rudra region. 17 people defeated 5 in a row. What can the remaining 12 do? Dong Haoxiong is a famous young expert from the Gold Sand region. Who knows, he might really be able to sweep the entire South Rudra region. The South Rudra region is too embarrassed. They are being challenged by others. I wonder if the strongest person will go up next. Everyone discussed in low voices. Mu Lingfeng couldn't bear it anymore. He suddenly stood up and yelled, "You want to challenge the strongest person of my South Rudra region? Dream on. I, Mu Lingfeng, will try you." He was just about to step up when Yi-chan sent a Zhenyuan transmission to him. Earlier, he used about 80% of his strength. Also, be careful of his blade arts. If I'm not wrong, he should be left-handed. Mu Lingfeng was shocked inwardly. He didn't know how Yi-chan could see so much. However, a person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. With Yi Chen's status, he wouldn't ignore these words. Shoo! Mu Lingfeng flew over. Clang! 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 His weapon was also a blade. The two blades continuously clashed together, creating dazzling sparks. The two's figures couldn't even be seen anymore. Eat my blade. Taking a step back, Dong Haoxiong switched his blade to his left hand and met the attack once again. The completely opposite blade arts made some of the spectating young experts feel very uncomfortable. Dang! Mu Lingfeng blocked it, but only he knew that without Yi Chen's warning, he would have most likely lost to Dong Haoxiong. Dong Haoxiong was extremely shocked. Even in the Gold Sand region, not many people knew about his left-handed blade. He thought that once he used his left hand, his opponent would immediately be defeated. However, he didn't expect that Mu Lingfeng would be prepared for this. Not only did he block his attack, he even counterattacked while he was distracted. The two had similar strength, but Mu Lingfeng was a bit more skillful. Therefore, Dong Haoxiong's left-hand blade lost its effectiveness, and he gradually fell into a disadvantage. Let go. A blade light flickered as Mu Lingfeng knocked away Dong Haoxiong's blade. He won. Someone was slightly surprised. After winning against Dong Haoxiong, Mu Lingfeng sheathed his blade and said with a loud voice, although our South Rudra region doesn't have many people, you don't have the qualifications. Dong Haoxiong coldly glanced at Mu Lingfeng, then picked up his blade and walked down the stage. Kid, don't be too arrogant. Let me experience your skills. Feeling embarrassed, someone from the Gold Sand region walked out. Mu Lingfeng was not afraid at all. He knew that his chances of winning the next battle were very small. Since the opponent dared to come up, his strength must be above Dong Haoxiong's. Mu Lingfeng, don't panic. When this guy walks, his right foot is 30% heavier than his left. His muscles are purposely relaxed, so he should be training the right leg martial arts. His hand's qi and blood are more vigorous than ordinary people's, so his hand martial arts should not be weak either. Just attack his left hand with all your strength, so that he won't be able to find his own rhythm. Lastly, your blade arts are somewhat messy, which should be a bit uncoordinated with your footwork. Therefore, don't casually use your speed to chase after him, lest he finds your flaws. The one who sent the message was still Yi Chen. Mu Lingfeng sucked in a breath of air and turned his head to look at Yi Chen. Chapter 451. What? Are you scared? The newcomer was about 25 or 26 years old, with a muscular body and a threatening gaze. Seeing that Mu Lingfeng was a bit absent-minded, he thought that he was shocked by his aura. Turning his head, Mu Lingfeng said, "Try and you will know. Wait for your defeat. Before that, remember my name, Li Xiao." Ha! Just as he finished his words, Li Xiao jumped up from the ground and kicked out with his right leg like a shooting star. Crescent moon cut. Mu Lingfeng's eyes were sharp as he took a step forward with his right leg. The long blade in his hand brushed against the ground and slashed out. Swoosh! A bright yellow blade light flew up from the ground, attacking Li Xiao's left side. Li Xiao frowned and changed his leg art from a kick to a sweep, sending out a powerful kick that shattered the blade light. Crescent west wind. Mu Lingfeng had made up his mind to attack Li Xiao's left side. Therefore, no matter how Li Xiao's leg art changed, he was not affected at all. His determined eyes seemed to be able to see through all of Li Xiao's flaws. After dozens of moves, Li Xiao gradually felt that something was wrong. Originally, his strength was 30% higher than Mu Lingfeng's, and logically speaking, he should have the upper hand while his opponent was struggling to hold on. But now, the two of them were evenly matched, and as time passed, Li Xiao's leg technique was greatly restricted. I can beat you even without leg arts. Pouring Zhen Yuan into his palms, Li Xiao spun his body, and a powerful palm power rushed out like a rolling wave. Come! Mu Lingfeng became more and more aggressive as he performed his blade art. It was like moving clouds and flowing water, without any hindrance. It pushed the blade aura and blade intent to the peak. Boom! Another dozens of moves passed. The two seemed to have a telepathic connection as they both threw out their most powerful attacks. The chi wave was enough to tear open mountains, pushing them back and making them puke out blood. Alright, this battle is considered a draw. Thunder Princess stopped the two who wanted to fight again. Huh. You are lucky this time. Not being able to beat Mu Lingfeng made Li Xiao's face turn ugly. However, since Thunder Princess had asked him to stop, he did not dare to not give her face. Mu Lingfeng's eyes were calm. Next time, you will not be my opponent. Just like that, the two left the place. Sorry I didn't defeat him. After returning to his seat, Mu Lingfeng sent a true essence sound transmission to Yi Qian. He was already convinced by Yi Qian. Yi Qian said, "It doesn't matter. I'm already very surprised that you managed to tie. After all, there's still a big gap between you and him. It's not like you can defeat him with just a few pointers." Yi Qian was indeed surprised. He had thought that Mu Lingfeng would not lose too badly, but he did not expect his opponent to have such a horrifying comprehensive ability. Not only did he follow through with what he had told him, but he had also performed beyond his expectations, displaying his own characteristics. No wonder he was called the representative of the new generation of martial geniuses in the South Rudra region. He was the new star after Yi Chen's Hidden Dragon rank competition. The South Rudra region did not have a good start, and neither did the mountain region. Even though the other regions did not purposely target the mountain region, all of the young warriors from the mountain region had been defeated one after another. Without exaggerating, powerful regions like the Thunder region, the Floating Light region, and the Gold Sand region, even the weakest young warrior could defeat half of the people from the mountain region. It was an undeniable fact. Cold Moon Spear, Sai Xingfeng, is it really okay for you to not go up? Up until now, your mountain region has not won a single battle. Pointing at the center of the stage, a tall young man named Chao Tai from the Snow Iron region said. Hearing him, Cold Moon Spear Su Jiang, who was wearing a white robe, stood up slowly. Sai Xingfeng frowned and said, "Are we going up now?" Su Jiang said, "Besides you and me, no one else would be safe. Be careful." Sai Xingfeng knew what Su Jiang was thinking. Only by beating his opponent would the situation in the mountain region not be that bad, just like the South Rudra region. The battle had begun. Su Jiang was not called the Cold Moon Spear for no reason. With a long silver spear in his hand, the spear light spread out in all directions. It was like he was standing in the dark water, filled with the reflection of the moon. Chao Tai had trained the gold element Zhen Yuan, which was not only powerful in attacking, but also in defense. Combined with his martial intent, he managed to block out the Cold Moon Spear's spear aura. If you only have this much power, then you will not be able to block out the next spear attack. Su Jiang said lightly. Chao Tai sneered. You and I are at the same power level. You want to beat me with one spear attack? That is impossible. Bring it on. All right. Su Jiang took a deep breath as his silver long spear started to spin. The spear shadow spun in the air as Yuan Qi surged. A horrifying deep ocean swirl seemed to have appeared in front of Su Jiang, dragging in the air from all directions. As the spear speed got faster and faster, the pulling power got stronger and stronger. Chao Tai, who was battling with Su Jiang, froze for a second, and his body started to crash into the tip of the spear. Not good. Chao Tai was shocked. His Zhen Yuan exploded as he tried his best to get rid of the pulling power. Too late. A spear mark appeared in the air. Chao Tai's protective Zhen Yuan layer was broken, and his clothes were cut open. If it were not for the fact that his opponent had shown mercy, that spear attack would definitely have pierced through his heart. Thank you. Su Jiang took back his spear and stood up. Brilliant. Chao Tai and Su Jiang did not have any deep hatred between them, so losing was not a big deal. Plus, the latter's spear art was indeed impressive. Cold Moon Spear Su Jiang, I Huashao have been wanting to fight you for a long time. Let's spar. A warrior from the Fire Swamp region flew out. Su Jiang frowned, knowing that this person would not be easy to deal with. The warrior who had come out was one of the top 5 warriors from the Fire Swamp region. He had beaten 10 people in a row in the last tea gathering, and was eventually beaten by Mo Xiang from the Thunder region. After 2 years his power should have improved a little, but Yi Chen had no idea how much he had improved. Please teach me. Su Jiang threw out a spear flower. Sure. The Fire Swamp region was mostly covered in mud, which contained a lot of decaying things. These decaying things accumulated over a long period of time and turned into burning gas, which caused many places in the Fire Swamp region to be on fire all year round. It was extremely strange. Most of the warriors living in the fire swamp region had fire element bodies, which allowed them to train fire element Zhenyuan with half the effort. This Wuxiao had trained fire element Zhenyuan. Boom! A pale green flame shot out. Huaxiao's power was much higher than Chao Tai's, which forced Su Jiang to back out continuously. For a moment, he could not perform the attack that had beaten Chao Tai. Fire Shine World! Huaxiao threw out a fist attack. That aggressive burning fist power rushed out at a high speed, forming waves of turbulence that blew away Su Jiang, who had used all of his power. Huaxiao has won. The warriors from the fire swamp region are quite powerful after all. One of the pillars of the mountain region had lost. Now there is only the Star Race Mountain left. If even he had lost, then the mountain region would be in an awkward position in this tea gathering. The South Rudra region and the mountain region had been weak for a long time. They would not be able to change the situation in 1 or 2 years. The defeat of the mountain region had given everyone a common topic to talk about. As they chatted, they started to talk about the South Rudra region. Yin Shihua stood up in front of everyone's surprised eyes and walked onto the stage with big steps. He wanted to change everyone's opinion of the South Rudra region. The South Rudra region would no longer be the South Rudra region from before. Even if there were fewer people, they would still be able to make a name for themselves. Chin. Taking out his red great blade, Yin Shihua pointed it at Huaxiao. Make your move. Oh. Huaxiao's eyebrows flicked as he asked, why is Xikong Sheng not on the stage yet? It has been 2 years since the last tea gathering. Don't tell me he has not made any progress at all? Yin Shihua said. I am more than enough. Alright then. I will beat you first, then force Xikong Sheng out. Although Xikong Sheng was not one of the top warriors in the last tea gathering, he was still a powerful warrior. Huaxiao did not have the confidence to beat him 2 years ago, and it was the same now. But beating a nameless warrior would be a piece of cake for him. Both of them cultivated fire-attributed Zhenyuan. Instantly, 2 square miles of open space were engulfed in flames. The scorching heat soared into the sky, and even the extremely tough and flexible high-grade white jade was burned until it cracked, making crackling sounds. Fire Shine World. Huaxiao performed the attack that he had used to beat Su Jiang. Yin Shihua did not back out at all. Instead, he dove down and threw out a blade attack from below. That blade attack seemed to crack open the ground, and the lava started to boil. The fire wave that reached into the sky condensed into a huge red blade, which not only shattered the fist power, but also blew away Huaxiao. 33 blade net. With only 1 blade attack, Yin Shihua did not stop his blade aura as he threw out 33 blade attacks in a row. That burning hot blade light crisscrossed, forming into a blade net that fell down towards Huaxiao. Swoosh! 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 Huaxiao tried his best to attack the blade net, but the fire wave in the net had cancelled out a part of his fist power. The rest of his fist power could only break a small part of the net before his protective Zhenyuan was shattered. He puked out a mouthful of blood and was blown away. What? Yin Shihua from the South Rudra region won. This Huaxiao is one of the top 5 warriors in the Fire Swamp region after all. He is not some nameless warrior, but this Yin Shihua is obviously not the number 1 warrior in the South Rudra region, but he still managed to beat Huaxiao. This kind of power has already reached beyond the mountain region. How surprising! Yin Shihua's victory had made a lot of people realize that the South Rudra region did not seem to be easy to deal with. Although there were not many of them, their aura was not weak at all. Plus, among the 17 warriors who had come, more than half of them had not fought yet, so no one could tell how powerful they were. After beating Huaxiao, Yin Shihua had 2 more opponents, both of whom were no weaker than Huaxiao. The one behind him was a warrior from the Wavy Cloud region, who was 30% more powerful. The battles were tough and the situation had changed a couple of times. In the end, Yin Shihua managed to hold on and won 3 battles in a row, bringing the South Rudra region to a level that could not be underestimated. Not bad. It is worth my time. It was a warrior from the Black Gold region. From the crowd it was Shi Yen who was ranked 3rd in the Black Gold region. He had beaten Xikong Sheng in the last Hidden Dragon rank, and was the one who had humiliated Xikong Sheng. Seeing him come out, Xikong Sheng squeezed his eyes, but did not say anything. Yin Shihua, let me go. You should rest and recover your Zhenyuan. Li Daoxian could tell that Yin Qihua had used up a lot of his energy, so it would be hard for him to win against Shi Yan. Therefore, he decided to take his place. Yin Qihua hesitated for a second, then said, "You be careful. This guy seems to be very dangerous." "I know." Li Daoxian nodded. "Yichun, do you think Li Daoxian could win?" Mu Lingfeng was very impressed by Yichun, so he could not help but ask. Yichun said, "The two of them have similar spirit, qi and soul. So, the final battle would probably be the power of will." Chapter 452. If each region could be divided into 3 levels, then the young warriors could be divided into 3 levels as well. The first level would be warriors who had not formed their martial spirits yet, the second level would be warriors who had formed their martial spirits, and the third level would be warriors who had not only formed their martial spirits, but also had 1 or 2 advantages that others would not be able to achieve, such as martial arts, Zhanyuan, and martial spirits. Without a doubt, Li Daoxian had already reached the second level, and he was not that weak in the second level. He was in the middle level. As for whether or not he would be able to go further, it would all depend on his upcoming performance. Li Daoxian was not weak, and as Li Daoxuan's opponent, Shi Yan was not weak either. The Black Gold region might be a little bit weaker than the Misty Snow region and the Wavy Cloud region, but it was only by a little bit. In other words, if he was ranked 3rd in the Black Gold region, he would probably be ranked 4th or 5th in the Misty Snow region and the Wavy Cloud region. Of course, it was not absolute and there would always be exceptions. After all, the growth of the martial geniuses was way too unpredictable. The rankings from 2 years ago would not be the same after 2 years. Otherwise, there would be no need for the tea gathering to be held again and again. I have underestimated your South Rudra region. Where would you rank in the South Rudra region? Shi Yan's weapon was a dragon stick. With it in his hand, his aura seemed to be endless. His tall and slim body seemed to be able to hold up the sky as he looked down at Li Daoxian with a pair of disdainful eyes. Li Daoxian glanced at Yichun and Xikongsheng, then smiled. "Top 5 at most." "Top 5? Are you kidding me? Do you have that many powerful warriors in the South Rudra region? Also, based on what you said, you would only be ranked 5th. Shi Yan paused for a second, then laughed out loud. He thought that Li Daoxian was belittling him and elevating the South Rudra region. Believe it or not, let's begin. Li Daoxian was not trying to belittle himself. Among all the people from the South Rudra region, he did not think that he would be able to compete with Yichun and Xikongsheng. Besides those two, Murong Qingcheng and Tua Baku both looked so mysterious and unpredictable. Therefore, putting himself in the top 5 was something that he had thought about. If he went further, it would be hard to say for sure. But, even if he told the truth, people would think that he was belittling himself. He was a sword artist, so why would he want to belittle himself? "I don't care what your ranking is, take this." Taking a step forward, Shi Yan's aura turned into a spiral. Carrying this aura, Shi Yan tightened his grip on the coiling dragon staff in his right hand, and attacked with a simple azure dragon comes out. The spiral-shaped staff light almost penetrated Li Daoxuan's chest in the blink of an eye. Clang! Facing the spiral rod radiance, Li Daoxuan's expression did not change. The long sword at his waist was instantly unsheathed, and a cold star blossomed, shattering the spiral rod radiance. You do have some power." Shi Yan looked a bit more serious. He had used this attack to test Li Daoxian. Although it was just a test, his power was not weak at all. He thought that Li Daoxian would have to spend a bit of power to deal with it, but he did not expect it to be broken this easily. "You take a sword attack of mine as well." After shattering the spiral rod radiance, Li Daoxian shook his right wrist, and 6 sharp sword lights pierced out. As he threw out that sword attack, the air seemed to freeze as the sword light flew out at an extreme speed. All the sounds from the outside world and the sword light had disappeared completely. Impressive. I could not believe that I had misjudged you. 6 cold light dots shone in front of Shi Yan's body. He could not help but back out 3 steps. If it were not for his fast reflexes and his staff defending in time, those 6 sword lights would have broken through his protective Zhanyuan and wounded him badly. This sword attack was just too creepy. Silent sword attack. Yichun had recognized this attack. Back in the Hidden Dragon rank competitions, Li Daoxian had made a name for himself with his silent sword attack. Although he had still lost to Yichun, Xikongsheng, and Yin Qihua, no one dared to underestimate it. After 4 years, the silent sword attack had appeared again. However, compared to before, its power had increased by 6 times. Therefore, it would be more appropriate to call it 6 silent sword attacks. A sword and a staff, the two of them were evenly matched, and there was no clear victor. That Yin Qihua is a blade artist, and this Li Daoxian is a sword artist. Since when did such powerful blade artists and sword artists appear in the South Rudra region? With their power, they would be able to be ranked in the top 15 even in our Thunder region. If that Xikongsheng is even more powerful than them, then the South Rudra region would be able to get rid of the title of being a weak region. That might be the case. These two are the most powerful warriors in the whole South Rudra region. It is possible. Without hearing the crowd's discussion, Li Daoxian had all of his attention on Shi Yan. The latter's battling power was just too powerful. In the last tea gathering, it was not luck that he was able to beat Xikongsheng. He indeed had the power. He had almost used all of his ace attacks, but he still could not wound his opponent at all. On the other hand, his shoulder had been stabbed by the dragon staff, and it was getting more and more painful. I can't go on like this. I have to finish this as soon as possible. The wound on his shoulder kept reminding Li Daoxian that the longer it dragged on, the less likely he would be able to win. Shi Yan's power was way beyond Yin Qihua's and his own imagination. Luckily, I was replaced by Li Daoxian. Otherwise, I would have lost within 100 attacks. Yin Qihua was still scared. It was not because he was afraid of Shi Yan, but because he had already fought 3 battles before, all of which were not easy to deal with, which had cost him a lot of energy. If he were to fight Shi Yan without his full power, losing within 100 attacks would already be an optimistic outcome. In fact, Yin Qihua did not even have the confidence to handle 50 attacks. Dao is emotionless, but it has emotions. His robe danced in the air as Li Daoxian jumped up from the ground, throwing out a fatal sword attack towards Shi Yan. This sword attack was the last movement of his emotionless sword art, which was as powerful as a 30% trained low-rank profound sense martial art. It was even more mysterious than other sword arts. The muscles on his arms expanded as Shi Yan switched to holding the staff with both of his hands. The dragon staff danced and spun in the air, creating layers of staff curtains in front of his body, continuously breaking down the sharp sword qi that Li Daoxian had thrown out. Break. Waiting until Li Daoxian's sword aura had been exhausted, Shi Yan yelled as his staff power increased drastically, shattering all of the sword qi before throwing out another attack towards Li Daoxian. Pooh! Puking out a mouthful of blood, Li Daoxian was sent flying out. But at the same time Li Daoxian flew, a plum blossom suddenly bloomed in front of Shi Yan, imprinting on his chest, soft and gentle. Cough! Once the plum blossom landed, Shi Yan puked out a huge amount of blood. When the plum blossom appeared, he told himself that there was something strange about it, and that he could not afford to be careless. However, at that moment, his rationality and his subconscious seemed to have some kind of conflict, which caused his reaction speed to be a bit slower, allowing the plum blossom to take advantage of his weakness. So, this is what it means by emotionless, but it has emotions. Shi Yan suddenly realized that this sword attack was different from normal sword attacks. It contained emotions within the emotionless attack, and this little bit of emotion was the most deadly killing intent, which was even scarier than emotionless attacks. The extreme of Yin gave birth to Yang, and the extreme of Yang gave birth to Yin. Within the emotionless attack, the emotions were the scariest and vice versa. Both of them had been wounded quite badly, so they could only end in a draw. Tuabaku praised, "It has been a couple of years since we last met, and everyone has improved so much. I thought I was the only one who had been through hell training." Yichun said, "Why don't you go up there and have a battle as well?" Hehe, what is the point of battling with these people? At least there needs to be someone who has the same power as me. Yichun, what about you? Me, I will go when the time comes. Yichun did not have the intention of going up as the last one. When the time came, even if the opponent was a bit weaker, he would still go up to show his strength. At least, he would bring some glory to the South Rudra region. Li Daoxian fighting Shi Yan to a draw was not something that many people had expected. No matter what, Shi Yan was still the third-ranked young warrior in the Black Gold region, and could be ranked in the top 50 or even the top 30 of the whole South region. What kind of place was South Rudra region? In the last tea gathering, only Sikong Shang had participated. This time the number of people had increased by 16 times. However, in the eyes of the crowd they were still at the bottom. And now these bottom warriors were showing signs of rising up. How could they not be shocked? South Rudra region is not the same anymore. You better not look down on it. Yeah. South Rudra region is several times more powerful than the mountain region. You can't mix them up. The night gradually fell, and the entire Mianxiu garden was as brightly lit as it was during the day. Basically, every 10 steps, there would be a sunlight crystal pillar. The sunlight crystal pillar was 3 meters tall, emitting a gentle white light that wasn't dazzling to the eyes. This allowed the tea gathering to continue under the bright light. Bang! Blood spilled everywhere. The last pillar of the mountain region, the Star Race Mountain, had fallen down. It was not because he was weak, but because his opponent was too powerful. Right now, almost all of the warriors from the mountain region had been wiped out. The remaining few small fries would not be able to do anything. How could they be more powerful than the Cold Moon Spear and the Star Race Mountain? It is time for the mountain region to remember this humiliation. The Cold Moon Spear. Su Jiang closed his eyes painfully. In the past, there had always been the South Rudra region at the bottom, and the mountain region had always been a bit more powerful than the South Rudra region. This had made a lot of people choose to be blind and deceive themselves. But now, the South Rudra region had worked hard and gotten rid of the title of being a weak region, while the mountain region was still struggling. Right then, even the Thunder Princess and the Edict Prince were shaking their heads. The mountain region was too weak. Besides the Cold Moon Spear and the Star Race Mountain, the others were all at the first level, and not even the most powerful ones. Sorry, I would like to take my leave. A young man from the mountain region stood up and held his fists towards the Thunder Princess. The Thunder Princess's eyes were like lightning as she said slowly, "If you can't even handle this little pressure, you will not be able to achieve anything in the future. It is up to you whether you want to leave or not. I will not stop you." The Star Race Mountain, who had just lost the battle, said with a low voice, "Sit down. Don't embarrass the mountain region anymore. We cannot afford it anymore." Hearing him, the young man sat down with shame. The one who had beaten the Star Race Mountain was the third most powerful warrior among the young generation of the Wavy Cloud region, Wang Lin, who was only below the Red Water Man and Duan Lingyun. But that was the ranking from 2 years ago. 2 years later, he did not think that he would lose to the Red Water Man and Duan Lingyun. After destroying the last hope of the mountain region, Wang Lin suddenly turned his attention to the South Rudra region. Yin Qihua had used up a lot of energy, so he probably would not join the battle. Li Daoxian had injured his meridians during the battle with Shi Yan, so he would not join the battle either. He would like to see what other powerful warriors the South Rudra region still had. A smile appeared on his face as Wang Lin pointed his finger in the direction of the South Rudra region. "I wonder if there is anyone from the South Rudra region who dares to accept my challenge? This guy really dares to say that." Tuobaku licked his lips. Shaking his head, Yichen surprisingly stood up. "It would be good to go up there and exercise a bit." "No way. You are really going up there?" Tuobaku opened his eyes wide. Yichen laughed. "Why not? There is no need to make the tea gathering so serious. Just relax a bit." Not only was Tuobaku surprised, everyone who knew Yichen was also surprised. There were people from the South Rudra region, Feng Yanro and Ling Hanye from the Floating Snow Palace. Chapter 453. Shoo! Ignoring everyone's shock, Yichen lightly tapped the ground with the tip of his foot. Like an illusory blue cloud, he appeared in front of Wang Lin within a second. "I will be your opponent." Wang Lin studied Yichen carefully. The latter's temperament was indeed very elegant, and the great sword on his waist also told him that he was a sword artist. Could it be that there were 2 top sword artists in the South Rudra region? Wang Lin chuckled and said to Yichen, "What kind of ace do you have? Just use it." Yichen smiled lightly and did not waste any time. His right hand touched the handle of the sword. Then he pulled it out, threw it out and put it back. The 3 movements seemed to have merged into one, and it was as fast as lightning. Chin! The half-moon-shaped sword qi suddenly landed on the blade that Wang Lin had just pulled out, and a bright flame shot out like a sickle. Wang Lin's body bent as both of his feet rubbed against the ground, sliding hundreds of meters away. The expression on his face was first shock, then realization, and finally seriousness. Using qi to control the sword upper stage. The Thunder Princess opened her red lips and slowly spat out a few words. There were 3 realms for taking out the sword and throwing it out. The first realm was using the body to control the sword, the second was using the qi to control the sword, and the third was using the mind to control the sword. Those who could reach the second realm would be considered as sword artists. However, the second realm was also divided into lower, middle, and upper stages. The lower stages were only at the beginning, so they were not familiar with it yet. The middle stages had already reached the point where they could control it without any mistakes. The upper stages were even more horrifying as the sword was the qi, and the qi was the sword. The moment Yichun took out his sword, he had told everyone that his sword was not weaker than Li Daoxuan's, but even more powerful. I cannot believe that there is another top sword artist in the South Rudra region. No, this one is even more powerful than the previous one. He has already shown the sharpness of a sword artist. If it were not for Wang Lin's good luck, that sword attack would have wounded him badly. If Wang Lin had been a bit more careless and did not take out his blade, that sword qi would not have been blocked so coincidentally. Like boiling water, everyone started to discuss, is it really just a coincidence? Wang Lin vaguely felt that the opponent seemed to know that he was going to take out his blade. Otherwise, it would be too much of a coincidence. I cannot be careless. Wang Lin's expression was very serious. He had already considered Yichun his biggest opponent. If he didn't use 120% of his strength, he would likely lose. Walking back to his original spot step by step, the blade aura on Wang Lin's body was getting stronger and stronger. When he took the last step, the blade aura was like a bomb, exploding violently. The blade in his hand suddenly waved out, shooting out hundreds of thousands of blade lights. Each of them was as fast as lightning, blocking all of Yichun's escape routes. Wang Lin considered Yichun his biggest enemy, so he immediately used a killing move. Facing this horrifying full-range attack, Yichun's expression did not change at all. He lifted up his green lotus sword with his right hand and swung it from left to right. All of a sudden, a dense wave of sword qi spread out, continuously shattering the incoming blade light, making it hard for him to move forward. However, the spectators in the pavilions had no choice but to get busy. Due to the clash between the saber gleams and the sword qis, the resulting shockwaves were quite powerful. A single shockwave was nothing, but if one shockwave after another were to radiate out, all the pavilions would be blown away and destroyed. The surroundings of the Pointer River platform would also be destroyed. Just as everyone was trying to block the shockwaves, Wang Lin attacked again. He jumped up from the ground, holding the long blade with both of his hands, and swung the blade down as if he wanted to split the entire platform into 2. Boom! The platform shook slightly. As the high-quality white jade resin turned into dust, the violent blade energy flew out and licked at Yichun's body. What a powerful blade attack! Yichun could naturally tell that this blade attack was not normal. The blade energy contained the spinning and spitting power of the flame. Once hit, no matter how strong the protective Zhenyuan was, it would not be able to block it. It would be torn apart, and the person inside would be severely wounded as well. Shadow explosion. It had been a long time since Yichun had used his separating shadow flying art. It was not that this art was outdated, but it was just that he did not have many opportunities to use it. Plus, it was precisely because he had not used it for a long time that he was able to walk out of the pattern of his flying art, and was not restricted by it. Seeing the blade light approaching him, Yichun's body shook, and countless black shadows shot out in all directions. Some of them even clashed with each other, which increased their speed and allowed them to escape from the attacking range of the blade light. Crack! A huge pit appeared where Yichun had been standing. The bottom of the pit was very hard, and there was a thunder pattern iron that could break down thunder and Zhenyuan's impact. It was because of the thunder pattern iron that the Thunder Princess dared to hold the tea gathering at the mountain and river stage. Seeing that the blade energy had missed its target, Wang Lin became alert and quickly jumped back. Unfortunately, he was still a bit too slow. The cyan-colored sword light had already cut open his protective Zhanyuan and easily knocked him away when he was halfway to the stage. The one who had attacked was naturally Yi Chan, who had just revealed himself. Thanks for letting me win. Yi Chan put his green lotus sword back into its scabbard. May I know your name? Wang Lin took a deep look at Yi Chan and asked. Yi Chan. Yi Chan, I will remember you. You are one of the 3 most powerful young sword artists I have ever met. Wang Lin held his fists together and went back to his seat. After beating Wang Lin, Yi Chen's name had been known by everyone present for the first time. The South Rudra region had also become more and more famous because of him, and it seemed like it was about to reach the 2nd level. Everyone thought that after Wang Lin, who was ranked number 3 in the Wavy Cloud region, lost the battle, Duan Lingyun, who was ranked number 2 in the Wavy Cloud region, would come out. However, he did not seem to want to fight against Yi Chan at all. Seeing that Duan Lingyun was acting like this, the Red Water Miner did not want to go out and fight against Yi Chan directly, so he frowned slightly. Gold Sand Region's Wu Feian, please teach me a lesson. Wu Feian was ranked number 4 in the Gold Sand region. Being able to be ranked number 4 in the Gold Sand region, one of the top 3 powerful regions, meant that he was way more powerful than the number 3 in the Wavy Cloud region. Duan Lingyun, who was ranked number 2, might not be more powerful than him either. Once he got onto the stage, he attacked toward Yi Chan along with that shocking heat wave. That bright light kept shooting out. Facing that burning palm power, Yi Chan only threw out one sword attack. That one sword attack had extinguished the heat wave, and a corner of Wu Feian's clothes had been cut off. 6 suns into 1. Wu Feian's mind tightened, and he subconsciously threw out a killing attack. 6 sun-like palm power turned into a huge bright palm in the sky, and a layer of golden halo appeared. The halo shook once, and the golden chi wave spread out in all directions. The top-rank white jade on the ground started to melt as it attacked toward Yi Chan, who was not far away. Sky Thunder Cut. That burning huge golden palm seemed to be indestructible, but Yi Chen's Sky Thunder Cut could even cut a mid-rank great weapon into pieces, not to mention a palm made of Zhanyuan. Swoosh! The 5 fingers of the huge palm were all cut off by the sword attack. What? Wu Feian was very surprised, so he threw out another palm attack. Pooh! The palm power was cut into pieces again. Yi Chan held the thunder sword and flashed a couple of times before arriving in front of Wu Feian, throwing out a sword attack. Wu Feian hurried to put up a thick layer of protective Zhenyuan around his body, which was made of compressed fire element Zhenyuan. Once anything touched it, it would be blown away by the explosive power. He was confident that he could block out Yi Chen's attack. However, he had underestimated the speed and sharpness of the Sky Thunder Cut. That highly compressed protective Zhenyuan was like a red crystal, and a black crack appeared on it. I lost. Wu Feian took a deep breath, feeling a bit shocked. As Wu Feian admitted defeat, all of the region started to discuss it. TSK. Impressive. He has already beaten 2 top young warriors in a row. For the South Rudra region, this is indeed an impressive achievement. Wang Lin and Wu Feian are both not weak warriors. One is ranked 3rd in the Wavy Cloud region, while the other is ranked 4th in the Gold Sand region. They are already at the top level of the 2nd level. I really do not understand the South Rudra region. In the last tea gathering there was only 1 warrior, but this time there are 17 of them. Among them, Yan Qihua, Li Daoxian, and Yi Chan are all very powerful. Could it be that they were weak 2 years ago? No way. They have improved so fast in 2 years. Inside the square formation of the Wavy Cloud region, the Red Water Man talked to Duan Lingyun with his Zhanyuan. Why don't you go challenge him? Why should I? Duan Lingyun asked back. Huh, you are not afraid of him, are you? The Red Water Man sneered. My business is none of your business. As for challenging him, you can do it yourself. Duan Lingyun knew that Yi Chan had not revealed his real power yet, and he was not an idiot. Why would he go up if he knew that he would lose? As for the Red Water Man, he would just let him try his luck. The Red Water Man did not know that Duan Lingyun had lost to Yi Chan, and that even the Ghost Moon Spirit Warrior could not do anything to Yi Chan. Wang Qi from the Wavy Cloud region is here to challenge you. The Red Water Man in red robes flew out. He was not provoked by Duan Lingyun, but by his own will. Although Yi Chan would be hard to deal with, he still had some confidence. Once he beat Yi-chan, his next target would be Ling Hanya from the Misty Snow region. As soon as the Red Waterman appeared, the whole mountain river stage was shocked for the first time. Although there were a couple of powerful warriors, they were obviously not comparable to the Red Waterman. As the #1 warrior of the young generation in the Wavy Cloud region, he was naturally quite famous. He could be ranked in the top 15 or even the top 10 in the whole South region. He was a top warrior of the second level, so it would not be wrong to put him in the first level. Therefore, the Red Waterman was definitely one of the top warriors among all the warriors present. He was not someone that people like Wang Lin and Wu Feiyan could compete with. I did not expect the Red Waterman to fight against Yi-chan. This is way too fast. The Red Waterman is the most powerful warrior in the Wavy Cloud region, so he should be on the stage in the final battle. It is indeed a bit early for him to come out now. This Yi-chan is not bad. If it were not for the Red Waterman, he might have been able to win a couple more battles. What a shame. Although Yi-chan is very likely to lose, the South Rudra region being able to make it this far is already a great achievement. Almost no one thought highly of Yi-chan. The Wavy Cloud region was a big region after all, and the Red Waterman was the top warrior among the young generation. How could he be weaker than Yi-chan? Did the South Rudra region really want to rise to the top? Above the Wavy Cloud region. Chapter 454. The head disciple of the Drifting Snow Martial School, Ling Hanya, looked interested. With Wang Qi here, perhaps we can see something? The battle was not over yet, so he would not say who would win or lose for sure. Wang Qi was powerful and was not weaker than him. Yi-chan was also hiding his power, and would not be easy to deal with. Therefore, in his opinion, this battle would be 50-50, unlike what most people thought, where Yi-chan would lose for sure. Sister Feng, who do you think will win? Qingzhu asked Feng Yanro. Feng Yanro said with a low voice, I think it will be Yi-chan. Oh, Qingzhu was not surprised at all. Regardless of whether she admitted it or not, Yi-chan was indeed very powerful. The 100 wins in a row in the Blue Mountain Island was the proof. It was Ling Hanya who was surprised by Feng Yanro's opinion. He already thought highly of Yi-chan, but Feng Yanro thought even more highly of him. Your power is not bad, but if this is all you have, you will not be my opponent. Wang Qi had already formed the shape of his martial spirit 2 years ago, and right now it had already reached the critical point. He was only one step away from the real martial spirit. Besides that, his top-rank Earth Realm martial art had also reached the peak of the 13th realm, and he had completely learned a top-rank Earth Realm martial art. He had also learned a profound sense martial art, and had also trained it to 40% completion. With this many ace attacks, Wang Qi did not worry about Yi-chan at all. His opponents would be Ling Hanya and the Beast Prince Mo Xiang. Only these people would be able to make him use all of his power. For him, Yi-chan would only be a bit more troublesome. The corner of Yi-chan's mouth curled up. You will change your mind soon. Oh yeah, that would depend on whether you are qualified or not. Red Water Godly Fist. Wang Qi's eyes turned cold. As he crossed his arms, he performed the exclusive martial art of the Red Water Martial School, the Red Water God Fist Art. In Wang Qi's hand, the power of this fist art was a couple of times more powerful than the Red Water God Fist Art that Huang Kaishan had performed. The powerful fist power was like a tsunami, each wave higher than the last. Green Lotus Mountain splits. Yi-chan wasn't afraid of the surging fist energy at all. He tapped his foot on the ground and leapt out like a bolt of lightning. He raised his greenwood sword high above his head and swung it down vertically. The sword light, which was engraved with a towering green lotus, tore apart the sky and slashed out with a mountain-splitting and earth-splitting power. An earth-shaking explosion was heard. Wang Qi's fist power had been shattered by the sword light, and Yi-chan's sword light had also been shattered by the explosion. In the first exchange, Yi-chan had the upper hand. Not bad. You deserve me to be a little more serious. Wang Qi's expression did not change at all. He had expected Yi-chan to have this kind of power. If not, then he had overestimated himself. Increasing his Zhan Yuan to another level, Wang Qi bent his knees slightly and his whole body shot up into the sky, throwing out a punch towards Yi-chan. There was nothing fancy about this punch. It was just faster, more brutal, and more aggressive. Under the push of the water mentality, purple lightning had even appeared in the fist power, which was caused by the power of the punch. Facing this powerful punch, Yi-chan shook his wrist and stabbed out with his greenwood sword. A dot of sword light accumulated on the tip of the sword, eventually turning into a green lotus and shooting out. Pooh! A subtle clashing sound was heard. Wang Qi's fist power and the green lotus that had been formed by the sword light had been destroyed together. The water and sword chi were like fountains, shooting out in all directions. This blast wave alone could kill a lot of normal astral-reaching realm warriors within seconds. His body, which was gliding backward, suddenly turned around. Wang Qi had not only taken out that aggressive radiation power, but had also guided that power into a huge swirl. With the centrifugal power of the swirl, he opened his hands and dove down from the sky like an eagle. Strong water swirl. As he punched out, all the water elemental energy in the sky and on the ground was sucked dry. Along with the fist power, the water elemental energy started to spin crazily, forming a flat whirlpool that was constantly shrinking. This flat whirlpool was so condensed and sharp that it even made a sharp whistling sound as it tore through the air. It was indeed the last movement of his red water godly fist art, which was equivalent to a profound sense martial art with 30% of its power. Being performed by Wang Qi, its power was even more powerful. Sky Thunder Cut. Right then, the separating shadow flying art would definitely not be used, since that swirl contained a very powerful suction power. If it was not powerful enough to break through, it would be impossible for him to use his speed to get out of the attacking range. Therefore, he would have to find the best angle to break through the swirl. Performing his sword steps, Yi-chan used his body as a sword, stabbing out to the right side of the swirl. At the same time, the greenwood sword in his hand had been replaced by the thunder sword. He held the sword tightly with both of his hands, holding it horizontally in front of his chest as he sliced through the swirl. Crack! All of these movements had been completed within a second. Once the sword tip sliced through, the sword light with electric light exploded from the inside of the swirl. What? You broke the swirl? Wang Qi's pupil shrank. Take one sword attack from me. After breaking the swirl with one sword attack, Yi-chan did not change his direction at all. He threw out countless sword lights towards Wang Qi while his whole body approached him. Piss off! Wang Qi threw out both of his fists continuously. His fist aura had reached its peak within a second, giving people a feeling like a dam that was filled with water had suddenly been broken, and a huge wave had poured out. Chin 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 chin. The fist tip and the sword tip continued to clash together, bringing up bright sparks. The burning chi waves had even shaved off the surface of the platform layer after layer, shooting out in all directions. Hit! The thunder sword curved into a shocking arc as Yi-chan suddenly bounced out. His left pinky finger and index finger shot out two beams of sword chi, shooting out with a hissing sound. Not good. Wang Qi had not expected Yi-chan's fingers to be able to shoot out sword chi as well, so he only had enough time to throw out a punch to shatter the first beam of sword chi. The second beam of sword chi had pierced through his protective Zhanyuan, bringing out a large amount of blood. What? The Red Water Man was wounded? He was wounded by one sword chi attack from Yi-chan, shooting out sword chi from his hand. How unexpected. Have you guys noticed that from the beginning to the end, Yi-chan has always had the upper hand? No matter how much he increases his power, he cannot turn the situation around. Doesn't this mean that the Red Water Man is not Yi-chan's opponent at all? Most of the people had their mouths wide open, not knowing what to say. In the square formation of the Thunder region, the young master of beasts, Emosiang, rubbed his chin and laughed. I guess what I said outside the city must have been taken as a joke by them. The Thunder Princess glanced at him. What joke? Nothing. I just made a big mistake. I thought he was just a normal warrior. Emosiang thought that he was more powerful than the Red Water Man, and since Yi-chan was able to beat him with a slight advantage, even if he was not as powerful as him, it would not be that much weaker. It is just a small mistake. It is impossible for people to not make mistakes. But, as long as the mistake is still within one's tolerance, why should one care? The speaker was an evil-looking young man wearing a long robe with a gold crown on his head. His eyes were long and narrow, and he had a cynical look on his face. Emosiang chuckled and said, It seems like the young leader is very confident. The young leader he was talking about was the young leader of the Shining Martial School, which was a rank 5 martial institution in the Thunder region. The current leader was his great-grandfather, the Shining King. As the descendant of the Life and Death Realm warrior, Yin Zhongli was very talented, and his comprehensive ability was not low either. In fact, at the level of the southern region, the king bloodline was not that rare. The key was still whether or not one could fully activate it. Same here, Yin Zhongli said with a lazy face. The martial tea gathering was in the spirit of competition, so the Thunder Princess was just about to announce the result when Wang Qi yelled, "Princess Jing, we are not done yet." The Thunder Princess said, "Wang Qi, winning and losing are normal things for warriors. You do not need to worry about it." Wang Qi tried to explain, "It was just a moment of carelessness on my part. If I lose, then it would be unfair. Don't worry, I will only need one attack. One attack and I will beat him." "All right then." The Thunder Princess nodded. Looking back at Yi-chan, Wang Qi's pupil started to turn red. "Very well. I did not expect that I would be wounded by you because of carelessness. But if you think that you have beaten me for sure, then you are very wrong. The next attack, I want you to accept your defeat." Yi-chan did not seem to care. "I will." Yi-chan's attitude had pissed Wang Qi off. He did not say another word as his aura rushed out like a flood. It was getting stronger and stronger. The auras clashed with each other, bringing up a cracking sound. Waves of invisible holes started to spread out. Water Beast Fist Wave. Wang Qi's ace attack was naturally the low-rank profound sense martial art of the Red Water Martial School. Water Beast Fist Wave. Different from Huang Kaishan, Wang Qi had already trained this profound sense martial art to 40%, which meant that its power was way more powerful than the fierce water swirl. Pushing his Zhan Yuan to its limit, Wang Qi threw out 18 punches towards Yi-chan. Each punch was like a whirlpool. 18 whirlpools spread out in the air, blocking Yi-chan's escape route. The whirlpools merged together, leaving behind 6 huge whirlpools that were the size of a stone mill. They formed a 6-pointed star, attacking towards where Yi-chan was standing. At that moment it seemed like time had stopped. Water Beast Fist Wave has increased my battling power by 3 times. It has combined defense, attack, and locking all at the same time. Let me see how you are going to block it out. After battling for a while, Wang Qi was very clear about Yi-chan's power. Therefore, he was sure that Yi-chan would not be able to block it out. Even if it were him, he would not be able to block it out either. Once he performed his Water Beast Fist Wave, it would be a piece of cake for him to beat someone stronger than him. Plus, Yi-chan's power was only at the same level as his. Facing this horrifying fist attack, Yi-chan's expression did not change at all. "You think that was all I had before? I have never liked to use my absolute power to beat my opponents. For me it is more fun to beat my opponents with techniques." His sword intent shot up into the sky. The space around Yi-chan started to twist a little, making it impossible to see his body clearly. All that could be seen was the twisted space suddenly disappearing. Yi-chan took a step out and threw out a sword attack towards the 6 huge whirlpools. Chapter 455. I did not sense it wrong, did I? This is the sword spirit level sword intent. Indeed. This is indeed the sword spirit level sword intent. Perhaps he has formed a real sword spirit? I remember that it is much harder for a sword artist to form a sword spirit than a warrior to form a martial spirit. Although some of them have reached the Sea of Souls realm, they still might not be able to form a sword spirit. The attacking power of the sword intent is already more powerful than the martial intent. Right now, there is even a gap of 1 level between them. Wang Qi's loss is understandable. Like a tornado, all of the young warriors from different regions started to discuss crazily. Inside the Thunder region, Mo Xiang looked at the Thunder Princess with surprise and asked, "Did he really form a sword spirit?" Forming a sword spirit meant too much. In the whole southern region, it seemed like only the Edict Prince had formed a martial spirit. Even the Thunder Princess and the Astral Spirit Son had not done it yet. The Thunder Princess shook her head. "Although its power is not weaker than the sword spirit level sword intent, but if I sense it carefully, there is still a slight difference. If I have guessed it right, He should have learned the elemental sword intent earlier, which is a couple of times more powerful than the normal sword intent. It should be comparable to the sword spirit level sword intent. Elemental sword intent. Emo Xiang and Yin Zhongli exchanged a look, their expressions becoming more and more serious. The young warriors who had come here could be divided into 3 levels. Without exaggeration, Yichun was already in the 3rd level. His advantage in terms of sword spirit was something that no one else could compete with. Elemental sword intent. Emo Xiang and Yin Zhongli were not the only ones who were shocked. The 2 young men in black robes sitting next to Xikong Shang were also shocked. As one of the Evil King Pavilion's 7 knights, they had a lot of experience. Naturally, they could tell that Yichun had not formed a sword spirit yet. The reason why this sword intent was so powerful was because of its intense killing element. No wonder you value him so much. He is indeed not a normal sword artist. The 7th knight let out a breath slowly and said to Xikong Shang. Xikong Shang knocked on the table with his fingers and said, "A couple of years ago, I knew that it would not be that easy to beat him. But the power he has shown so far is not enough to surprise me. I hope that he has more powerful ace attacks. Otherwise it would be too boring." You are such a crazy man. The 7th knight and the 6th knight forced a smile. On the field, Yichun and Wang Qi were completely different. Yichun still looked handsome and elegant. Holding his long sword, he looked clean and spotless. Wang Qi was in a much more difficult situation. His clothes were torn, his lips were stained with blood, and his hair was messed up by the strong wind. He no longer looked like the little master Redwater. Before he could say anything, Wang Qi spat out another mouthful of blood. He was so angry that he became muddle-headed. Previously he had confidently said that he would defeat Yichun in 1 move, leaving no room for him to turn the tables. Not only did he fail to achieve his goal, but he was also instantly killed by Yichun. The dramatic ending gave him a hard slap in the face, making him dizzy and wishing that he could never wake up in this life. How is this possible? How could I lose to him? This is impossible. It should not be. I am the number 1 young warrior in the Wavy Cloud region, and he is only a warrior from the South Rudra region. After puking out a mouthful of blood, Wang Qi looked like he had lost his soul. Yichun sighed. Was it really that embarrassing to be beaten by himself? Not to mention the others besides the top 3 dragon-level martial geniuses, the rest of them did not make him feel like fighting at all. Of course, most of them probably did not think that they would have the power to challenge a true dragon-level warrior. Wang Qi, you have lost. Get down now. The Thunder Princess reminded Wang Qi so that he would not continue to lose face. After all, his opponent was the face of the Wavy Cloud region. Wang Qi lifted up his head, looking a bit lost. In the Gold Sand region formation, the aggressive astral spirit sun sneered, "Trash. You have lost the battle in the formation." The purple-haired beauty right next to the astral spirit sun laughed. Things have been a little different from what you had expected. It is normal for you to lose your soul. But this Yichun is not simple. He has beaten the Wavy Cloud region with his own power and brought the South Rudra region to the 2nd level. Even if someone from the South Rudra region manages to surpass him in the future, no one would forget his contribution. Wang Qi, why are you so fixated on what is right in front of you? Right then the Edict Prince spoke. His voice seemed to contain a kind of power that could make one's heart clear. As soon as it reached everyone's ears, they all became serious and cleared their thoughts. When it reached Wang Qi's ears, his messy eyes started to focus again, and he regained his spirit. With a blush on his face, Wang Qi knew that the Edict Prince had helped him out and saved him from losing face. He held his fists together and said, "Thank you." The Edict Prince sighed. Winning and losing are normal things for warriors. If you want to never lose in your life, you have to have an unyielding spirit. You have lost for real this time. Get down now. Yes. Wang Qi had a bitter look on his face. As he brushed past Yichun, he said with a light voice, "This time you have won. Next time I will not lose." Yichun did not say anything. Beating him was already enough, so there was no need to break his confidence. Head disciple has lost as well. Huang Kaishan's expression was even more bitter than Wang Qi's. In the Blue Mountain Island Challenge tournament, He had suffered a crushing defeat to Yi Chan without even the slightest chance to fight back. He originally thought that his head disciple would beat Yi Chan in this tea gathering, and let him see Yi Chen's face of defeat. However, the heavens seemed to be against him. Even his head disciple, who was so powerful in his heart, had been defeated, and it was a clean defeat without any trace of force. Better not mess with him. We can't afford to mess with him. Huang Kaishan made up his mind to not mess with Yi Chan anymore. In fact, he did not dare to mess with Yi Chan. Otherwise, how could he expect Wang Qi to beat Yi Chan? Sister Feng is right. It seems like head disciple's insight is not as good as Sister Feng's. Qingzhu teased Ling Hanya, who was in front of her. Ling Hanya forced a laugh. I was wrong. Since even Wang Qi was not his opponent, then I would not be his opponent either. He is almost at the 3rd level. There were not many warriors at the 3rd level. There were 3 to 4 warriors in the Thunder region, 2 to 3 in the Floating Light region, and 2 to 3 in the Gold Sand region. All the other regions had 1 each or none at all plus Yi Chan. As for the rest of the hidden warriors, they had not been exposed yet. The climax of the tea gathering was still far from starting. Yi Chan has won. Our South Rudra region status has surpassed the Wavy Cloud region. Mu Lingfeng was very excited. Even more excited than when he had beaten Wang Chitobaku chuckled. Just watch. The next tea gathering will depend on you guys. Yes, I will work even harder. Before he came, Mu Lingfeng was more or less proud, thinking that he was not weaker than anyone. The only pity was that he did not have the chance to fight with Yi Chan and the rest of the warriors in the Hidden Dragon rank competitions. Right now, he finally knew that if he wanted to reach the level of Yan Qihua and Li Daoxian, he would have to train with all his might. Which one of the martial geniuses here was not talented enough? However, if he wanted to reach the level of Yi Chan, it would not be something that could be done in a day. In the pavilion next to them, Li Daoxian said, "He is still ahead of us. It seems like if we want to catch up to him, we will have to spend our whole lives." Yan Qihua said with determination, "Even if we have to, we will have to catch up to him. If Yi Chan wants to catch up, then someone else will have to catch up as well. Don't forget, he is the only one in the whole South Rudra region who can compete with Yi Chan." Li Daoxian looked at Xikong Shang, who was wearing black robes. He was even more mysterious than before, and it was all because of Yi Chan. Thinking about how even Xikong Shang had been pushed to this extent by Yi Chan, Li Daoxian could not help but admire him. Yan Qihua also glanced at Xikong Shang and said, "Catching up to someone is always better than having no one to catch up to, especially seeing the martial geniuses out there." Li Daoxian nodded. "Indeed. Catching up to them will make us improve even faster. I also believe that since we can catch up to them, we will be able to catch up to the whole world as well." Li Daoxian asked himself if it were not for Yi Chan, he would not be as powerful as he was right now. Only with pressure would there be motivation. After beating Wang Qi, Yi Chan had already won 3 times in a row. His reputation was catching up to the Beast Prince, Mo Xiang and the others. Still not going down? He is not planning to challenge all the way, is he? Arrogant. Although the Red Waterman is powerful, there are still people who are more powerful than him. Especially the Thunder region, the Floating Light region, and the Gold Sand region, the top 5 regions. Which one of them is not more powerful than the Red Waterman? It seems like the 3 winds have made him a bit dizzy. It is not that easy to become famous in one go. Just you wait. Someone will go up and beat him until he wakes up. I wonder who else besides the Thunder Princess and the Astral Spirit Sun will go up to challenge him. Seeing that Yi Chan did not plan to go down, a lot of people got angry. They thought that Yi Chan was too arrogant and did not care about anyone else. Yi Chan did not know what they were thinking, and even if he did, he would not care. The reason why he stayed was not to challenge the top 3 true dragon-level warriors, because the martial tea gathering was not a challenge. If you wanted to challenge someone, you would have to see if they were interested or not. The reason why he stayed was to bring the South Rudra region to the top of the 2nd level. After doing all that, he would not care about the battles at this level anymore, and the others would not dare to look down on the South Rudra region either. Just beating one Wang Qi? I, the Black Sword Artist, would like to challenge you. A teenager in black robes with a black sword on his back flew out. Besides that sharp sword aura, There was also that evil chi that seemed to want to devour people. It was an evil chi that only people who had killed thousands of people would have. The evil chi combined with the sword aura, and with just a thought it could almost make people hallucinate. It was indeed the #1 warrior of the Black Gold region, the Black Sword Artist, also known as the leader of the Black Gold region's top 4. It had been rumored that his power was at the same level as Wang Jilin and Han Ye. You use a sword and I also use a sword. Let's see whose sword technique is more lethal. The Black Sword Artist was very confident in his sword art. Chapter 456. Rumble. Rumble. Another 2 black sword lights shot out. These black sword lights were extremely violent, creating black tornadoes as they attacked towards Yi-chan from both sides. His clothes and long black hair danced in the air as Yi-chan held the thunder sword and slashed horizontally. Crack! With the 2 of them as the center, the space began to distort, and the airflow was sucked in, unable to escape. The sword light that had created the black tornado suddenly shattered, causing the surrounding platform to be full of holes, and not a single spot was left unscathed. The slaughter sword intent is too frightening. This tea gathering is indeed full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. There are actually 2 sword geniuses who have comprehended the slaughter sword intent. Together with Gold Sand Region's life taker Long Zhua, the 3 of them are the top 3 sword artists of this tea gathering. Yeah, life taker Long Zhua is indeed not to be underestimated. 1 year ago, he had defeated Gold Sand Region's former number 2, Wan Zhuoming. His strength is just below Astral Spirit Sun. I wonder who will have the last laugh among the top 3 sword artists? Everyone discussed spiritedly, and they were rather interested. Raising his black sword artist looked at Yi-chan from afar and said indifferently, I am not like other sword artists. Once my sword leaves its sheath, I want to see blood. Otherwise, my mind will not be smooth. You better be prepared for serious injuries, or else you will blame me for not reminding you. Yi-chan smiled slightly. This blood might not be mine. It might be yours. Yi-chen's voice was not loud, and his expression was not cold or serious, but everyone could clearly feel a strong will coming from him. Although his attitude is arrogant, I have to admit that this person is not simple. Facing Black Sword Artist who has comprehended the slaughter sword intent, he dares to speak like this. I wonder if it is his nature or if he is confident. What kind of confidence does he need to have to dare to say such words? Without a doubt, Yi-chen's words had enraged Black Sword Artist. He said coldly, whose blood it is we will know soon. Wolf killing. Black Sword Artist's right foot moved half a step as he slashed down with his black sword. The brutal black sword light was like a hot knife cutting through butter, carrying the howling of a wolf as it slashed towards Yi-chan. Break. Flying into the air, Yi-chan shattered the black sword light with one sword attack. His left hand reached out from the side of his waist. 2 beams of green lotus sword chi shot out with a swishing sound. This move is useless against me. Black Sword Artist reached out his left hand as well. His index finger and middle finger clasped onto his thumb, shooting out 2 black finger energies. The finger energies were like blades, blocking the green lotus sword chi in the air. Puff! Puff! Black Sword Artist had underestimated the green lotus sword chi in the end. Although his finger art was not weak, it was still no match for the green lotus sword chi that Yi-chan had hidden inside his body. The black finger power paused for a second before shattering immediately, releasing 2 circular shockwaves. The shockwaves spread out very fast, but still could not catch up to the speed of the green lotus sword chi. Ding ding! Left with no choice, the black sword swordsman raised his black greatsword. 2 sparks exploded in the air in front of his chest. What kind of sword chi is this? It is not weaker than the sword chi from a greatsword at all. It might even be a bit stronger? Black Sword Artist originally thought that Yi-chan had cultivated some kind of finger art, causing the finger energy to be similar to sword chi, but not as powerful as sword chi. But now he realized that he was wrong. The might of these 2 strands of sword chi far surpassed ordinary sword chi. The Black Sword Artist was surprised, but so was Yi-chan. He knew the power of the green lotus sword chi better than anyone else. Under normal circumstances, The sword chi that he used with his mid-rank greatsword would not even be as powerful as the Green Lotus sword chi. Only the sword chi from his ace attacks would be able to suppress the Green Lotus sword chi. However, his opponent was able to use his finger power to reduce the sword chi's power by half, which meant that it must be a top-rank Earthrealm finger art. Only a top-rank Earthrealm finger art could do this. I have already used up 4 beams of my Green Lotus sword chi. I will not use them again if I can. The Green Lotus sword chi was his ace in close combat. Yi Chun did not want others to know his bottom line. Seizing the chance when the black sword artist had shattered the Green Lotus sword chi, Yi Chun's body suddenly dropped down. The 1,000-meter-long sword light was like a heavenly sword as it slashed down. Break for me. If it were a normal sword artist, they would definitely focus on defense and focus on defending against Yi Chun's heavy attack. However, in the dictionary of the black sword artist, there was no concept of defense. He opened his mouth and roared. His black hair stood up while his inky black chi shot up into the sky, accompanying the huge black sword in his hand to meet the incoming sword light. Boom! The 2 swords clashed, and a dark blue energy ball appeared out of nowhere. At first, it was only the size of a pinky finger, but after half a blink of an eye, it had expanded to 1 meter. Not good. Everyone block out the energy wave. The Thunder Princess frowned. Her voice was pushed by her Zhen Yuan, spreading out at a supersonic speed. At the same time, she waved her slender palm, and a crystal-clear Zhen Yuan wall flickering with thunder and lightning rose up, blocking the entire pavilion behind it. It then spread out to both sides, connecting with the Zhen Yuan walls created by the others. Waiting until all the Zhen Yuan walls were connected into a circle, sealing off the entire mountain pointer stage, the dark blue energy ball exploded. Because the sound of the explosion was too loud, no one could hear it. They could only see a dazzling light in front of them as the Zhen Yuan walls were weakened bit by bit. Then the energy wave that had nowhere to vent shot up into the sky, turning into a 2-li thick energy light beam that shot up into the sky, tearing apart the stunning sky barrier. Looking from the outside of the Thunder Capital, the energy beam that seemed to connect the sky and the earth was extremely eye-catching. Everyone in the Thunder Capital secretly sucked in a breath of cold air. They had no idea how popular the biennial martial tea gathering was. Such a frightening momentum was clearly not something an ordinary person could create. Rumble! The energy light beam dissipated, and only then did a loud boom spread out in all directions. However, there was no one on the stage. Yi Chun and the black sword artist had both disappeared. Yi Chun, it's time for you to take my sword. Up in the sky, the black sword artist's figure appeared. Both of his hands were gripping the huge black sword, raising it high above his shoulders. Then he exerted his strength through his spine, transferring it to the muscles of his arms before finally pouring it into his palms in an explosive manner. Swoosh! A black waning moon suddenly appeared, and an extremely frightening black sword wave radiated out in a 180-degree fan shape. Its speed had already surpassed most people's senses. Facing this frightening sword, Yi Chun pulled out the thunder sword with his left hand. Without adjusting his grip, he directly slashed out. The sword light without thunder lit up the sky of the Thunder Capital once again, slashing out with an increasingly domineering manner. Wherever it went, the air was shattered by the power of nothingness, leaving a shocking black sword mark. Sky Thunder Cut. The Sky Thunder Cut performed with his current power was far more powerful than when he had fought against the Red Water Miner spiritual master. It might have been a casual attack, or he might have been holding the sword in his left hand or holding the long sword in a reverse grip. After waving out this sword, Yi Chun seemed to have understood something. The Sky Thunder Cut could cut through anything, including the sword wave formed from sword chi. The sound of silk being cut was heard. Not only did the black sword artist's killing move have no effect, he even suffered a bit of a backlash. Of course, with his power, this bit of backlash was nothing to him. However, Yi Chun's power made him vigilant. This battle is going to be dangerous. I originally thought that the black sword artist, who had comprehended the slaughter sword intent, could slightly suppress Yi Chun. Even if he couldn't suppress him, he should at least be on par with him. But now, no matter how I look at it, it seems like the battle between Yi Chun and the Red Water Miner spiritual master is the same. Could it be that even the black sword artist is not a match for Yi Chan? The battle is not over yet. It's too early to say that. Who knows, the black sword artist might have a counterattack. After dozens of attacks, the two had fought from the sky to the ground. Sword chi that was enough to tear apart mountains were attacking each other in the sky of Thunder City. Black Dragon Wave. The black sword artist's strongest sword attack was naturally a profound sense martial art. However, due to various reasons, he did not have a deep understanding of the Black Dragon Wave, which was around 30% completion, which was still not as powerful as the Red Water Miner spiritual master Wang Qi. Therefore, this Black Dragon Wave was only as powerful as the last movement of his sword art. However, a profound sense martial art was still a profound sense martial art. Even if its power was not enough, its subtlety was still not something a normal sword art could compete with. The black sword was covered in a black mist. When the black sword artist stabbed out, the sword light was like a swimming dragon, without any fixed pattern or pattern. Even if it was someone with the same power as the black sword artist, it would be hard to avoid this sword attack. Their bodies would be pierced through and shattered. What a horrifying sword attack. I can't even see its trajectory. Dragons are legendary creatures. I heard that when a dragon flies in the sky, it would be impossible to see or touch it, as if it existed in another space. As a profound sense martial art, the Black Dragon Wave would naturally not be like a normal martial art, where the word dragon would be used to increase its aggressiveness. It must have been added after careful consideration. Even if this Black Dragon Wave is not related to the Black Dragon, it must be related to the Flood Dragon. Yi Chun is going to lose. Losing to this sword attack is not shameful at all. Everyone on the stage did not think that Yi Chun would win. Even if Yi Chun had had the upper hand since the beginning, and it had been going on until now, the battle between sword artists would be decided in just a second. So what if he had the upper hand? So what if the scene looked good? One sword attack would be able to wipe out all of his previous efforts. It was cruel but also realistic. Right then, even Tua Baku, Li Daoxian, and the others were worried for Yi Chan. Mu Lingfeng was even more unable to control his emotions, his palm squeezing the armrest of his chair until it exploded. Facing this untraceable sword attack, a faint smile appeared on the corner of Yi Chen's mouth. He flipped the greenwood sword and put it behind his back. His left hand instantly grabbed the thunder sword's hilt at his waist, pulled it out and sliced upwards. The sword light twisted back, wrapping around his opponent's strange sword light. Reverse Sky Thunder Cut. It was the same sword attack from before. In just a short period of time, Yi Chun had already perfected it to a certain extent. What? The black sword artist's expression had just appeared on his face when he felt a sharp pain in his chest. The blood that had splashed out dyed his eyes red, making him feel hot and numb. Time seemed to have stopped. Without knowing why, the black sword artist recalled what Yi Chun had said before the battle. This blood might not be mine but yours. Chapter 457. The black sword light rolled back without any warning, and the black sword artist was sent flying by his own sword. Just like the essence of this profound martial skill, Black Dragon Wave, its trajectory was mysterious. If the opponent couldn't block it, then neither could the user. It was ironic. Spraying blood everywhere, the black sword artist crashed into the Zhan Yuan barrier of the crowd in the pavilion. With his back as the center, a circular shockwave exploded. Many of the spectators stood up, and those who didn't were slightly trembling. Regardless of whether they stood up or not, they were all indescribably shocked. Unbelievable, unbelievable. He actually broke the black sword artist's profound martial skill and counterattacked. What kind of determination and sword technique is needed to achieve this? He previously said that this blood might not be mine, and might be yours. I thought he was just saying it casually, but I can't believe he actually did it. I can't deny that his sword Dao cultivation base is already above the black sword artist. If it could be said that the horrified expressions of the others were more or less filled with confusion and incomprehension, then the horrified expression of the deadly swordsman Lang Zhuo was completely filled with understanding and understanding. His title as the deadly swordsman was as his name implied. His sword art was extremely ruthless and ruthless. He walked a tricky path, making it impossible for one to see the trajectory of his sword or see the trajectory of his sword. By the time one saw his sword, it would already be too late. Although he didn't comprehend an elemental sword intent, and couldn't compete with the black sword artist in terms of pure offensive power, his techniques could make up for this disadvantage. He had mastered a total of 3 top-rank Earth Realm sword arts, all of which he had cultivated to the extreme. Apart from that, he had also comprehended a low-rank profound sword skill to 40% completion. These 3 sword arts and 1 sword skill were all focused on killing in one strike. Even if he were to face the black sword artist, he wouldn't be afraid. In his opinion, the odds of victory were only 50-50. Either he would be defeated by the black sword artist, or he would be able to injure the opponent in a short time and win. There was no third possibility. Originally, after the fight between Yi Chan and the black sword artist, regardless of the outcome, Leng Zhuo would challenge one of them. But now he no longer had the heart to challenge Yi Chan. This person's sword art was the type that Leng Zhuo was most afraid of encountering. It was perfect and flawless. Of course, a flawless sword artist didn't mean that he could defeat a flawed sword artist. However, there was no doubt that Leng Zhuo was most afraid of a flawless sword artist. In his opinion, Yi Chan was a flawless sword artist. Yi Chan had used the same amount of power to suppress the berserk black sword artist from start to finish. This was something that Leng Zhuo couldn't do. If he were to face Yi Chan, Leng Zhuo would probably be weaker than black sword artist. Especially after Yi Chan executed the reverse sky lightning cut. Leng Zhuo knew that he didn't have the slightest chance. Not to mention killing Yi Chan with a single strike, he would probably be killed by Yi Chan with a single strike. Leng Zhuo relaxed his clenched fists. He had already given up on challenging Yi Chan. Puff! Kneeling on one knee, the black sword artist vomited a mouthful of blood. His complexion extremely pale. You actually counterattacked my black dragon wave? His shock wasn't without reason. Yi Chan could shatter the black dragon wave. But he couldn't accept the fact that he was injured by the black dragon wave. Yi Chan glanced at the thunder sword in his left hand and said, "For a moment of inspiration, I have to thank you." The reverse sky lightning cut was just something he had casually executed. After all, he was proficient in 2 great mentalities, one being the thunder mentality and the other the wood mentality. Sword arts that were propelled by these 2 mentalities needed a corresponding treasure sword to complement them. No matter how fast Yi Chen's sword swapping speed was, there would always be a waste. Therefore, with a flash of inspiration, he used his left hand to reverse grip the thunder sword and executed the sky lightning cut. Thunder struck down from the sky, and it was called Sky Thunder. As it struck down, it was like a peerless treasure sword, sharp and unstoppable. The reverse sky lightning cut moved in the opposite direction, striking from below like the reversal of the universe. The sky was no longer the sky, and the earth was no longer the earth. Not only could it cut off the opponent's attack, it could even counterattack the opponent's attack, returning it to its normal state. It sounded easy, but it wasn't necessarily easy to do. The first time Yi Chan performed the reverse sky lightning cut, it wasn't the real one, because it didn't have any other function other than cutting off a bit more power. However, the second time he performed it, Yi Chan purposely made it work. It was all thanks to Yi Chen's powerful soul. Relying on his terrifying soul source, he was able to reverse the sky lightning cut in a short time, using the most powerful point of the attack at the moment of the sword attack, and the weakest point at the moment of the attack. It was the exact opposite of the normal sky lightning cut. Therefore, no matter if it was the reverse sky lightning cut or the sky lightning cut, they were essentially the same. Otherwise, Yi Chen wouldn't have been able to recreate a sword movement that was more powerful than the sky lightning cut. The reverse sky lightning cut was not only a counterattack movement, but also an offensive one. However, the counterattack was a bit more strange and impossible to defend against. In other words, with the reverse sky lightning cut, Yi Chen's awkwardness had been alleviated to a certain degree. Regardless of whether he wanted to admit it or not, the lack of sword movements was his biggest problem. Other people had the support of powerful martial institutions, so after learning a top-rank Earth Realm sword art, they could still learn a second one. If they got bored of top-rank Earth Realm sword arts, they could change their tastes and challenge more difficult profound sword arts. Up until now, he had only inherited one Green Lotus sword art, which was honestly very powerful. It was way more powerful than normal top-rank Earthrealm sword arts. It was almost the peak of top-rank Earthrealm sword arts. And there was no other top-rank Earthrealm sword art that could be more powerful than it. Because of this, the ninth movement was extremely hard to comprehend. Yi-chan suspected that with this amount of time, he could even comprehend a profound sword movement that required the thunder profound to 30%. Although once he comprehended the ninth movement of the Green Lotus sword art, its power would be unparalleled, and it might even surpass Yi-chan's imagination. However, if he did not comprehend the ninth movement, he would not be able to use it as his ace attack, and he would not be able to change the situation. Besides the Green Lotus sword art, the Sky Lightning Cut had been created by Yi-chan step by step. He had been using it from the beginning until now, and it had been extremely smooth. Besides these two, Yi-chan did not have any other ace sword art that he could use anymore. Right now, the reverse Sky Lightning Cut had undoubtedly solved Yi-chan's urgent problem. In a situation where the power was equal, the importance of martial arts was way too big, and it was related to life and death. Hearing Yi-chan say that he would have to thank him for the sudden inspiration, Black Sword Artist almost puked out another mouthful of blood. Although he did not puke out any blood, his face was still extremely pale. His opponent still had the time to create an unimaginable sword movement in the middle of a fierce battle, which was no different from slapping his face. Sudden inspiration. Anyone could have a sudden inspiration, but it did not mean that it could be put into action. After all, this was not a battle between mortal realm martial artists, where a sudden inspiration could turn the tables. It should be known that they were absolute astral-reaching experts, and that sudden inspiration, which could be put into action without any time, was completely useless. On the other hand, Yi-chan's sudden inspiration had almost beaten him half to death. The difference between the two was too big. Therefore, Black Sword Artist did not believe that this was a sword move created by Yi-chan's sudden inspiration. It was certainly his hidden ace. After saying these words, he turned around and walked back to his seat. Looking at Yi-chan's back, a lot of people let out admiring gazes. One man and one sword battling 4 people in a row, and defeating 4 of them in a row. Moreover, none of them were nameless warriors. Such an achievement would definitely cause a sensation. Because of him, the South Rudra region had jumped from the first level to the second level, and was unparalleled in the second level. Regardless of the outcome of the tea gathering, the title of the number 1 sword artist of South Rudra region had completely fallen into Yi-chan's hands. In a few days it would spread throughout the entire South Rudra region, and his fame would resound throughout the whole region for the first time. Number 1 sword artist. South Rudra region. What kind of glory was this? Apart from the glory of being the number 1 sword artist, everyone believed that Yi-chan had the strength to enter the top 10. Top 3 wasn't too likely, but 4th, 5th, or even 6th was a possibility. He has truly become famous overnight. Everyone sighed inwardly. Yi-chan's departure from the stage made the following exchanges somewhat dull. However, everyone was looking forward to the fiery exchanges. After all, there were still many powerful figures who hadn't made their moves yet, especially the Thunder Princess, Edict Prince, and Astral Spirit Son. Chapter 458. In everyone's opinion, Leng Zhua, who didn't dare to challenge Yi-chan, was just an undeserved reputation. He didn't deserve the title of Fatal Sword Caesar, nor did he deserve to be called one of the 3 great sword artists of the southern sector. However, they were wrong. His strength was definitely beyond their imagination. For consecutive opponents were all famous sword artists, but they all lost miserably at his hands. The first opponent was Li Daoxian. He could only receive 1 sword strike, but he couldn't raise the second one no matter what, because Leng Zhua's sword was already on his neck. The second opponent was Feng Yanro, who could only receive 1 strike as well. It wasn't because her icy snow sword domain wasn't powerful enough, but because she didn't even have the time to use it. The opponent's sword was like a ghost, breaking through her defense before she could even react. It was terrifyingly fast and accurate. The third opponent was Fire Swamp Region's 2nd-ranked Underworld Flame Sword artist. His strength was also above the previous 2, and he managed to receive 3 strikes from Leng Zhua. The first strike ended in a draw, the second strike knocked away his longsword, the third strike broke his protective zhanyuan, and the fourth strike landed on his shoulder. The victory came so quickly that the spectators didn't even have the time to get excited. The fourth opponent was none other than Misty Snow Region's first-ranked Ling Hanya, also known as Drifting Snow Sword Artist. Despite his title, Ling Hanya's strength was only at the same level as Redwater Daoist Wang Qi, at most a bit higher. Therefore, he was still defeated, but at least he managed to exchange 7 strikes. At this point, the spectators finally understood that it wasn't that fatal sword artist Ling Zhuo wasn't strong, but that Yi Chen was too strong. Even if he went up, he wouldn't be Yi Chen's opponent. What a frightening fatal swift sword! Mu Lingfeng mumbled. Yi Chen said, if the black sword artist's sword pursues destructive power, then Ling Zhuo's sword pursues one-hit kill. The two are different styles, but from a certain perspective, Ling Zhuo is more frightening. Mu Lingfeng faintly nodded. He was not a stupid person. Ling Zhuo was like an assassin among sword artists, pursuing efficiency. Therefore, those with lower strength were even more unwilling to face him. In the following exchanges, Bing Ling, Mo Yan, Gu Yun, and Qin Yun all went up to challenge the young elites of other regions. Bing Ling's strength was only slightly inferior to Li Daoxian, Yan Qihua, and Bing Ling, which made many people exclaim at the freakishness of South Rudra region. With Yi Chen, Li Daoxian, and Yan Qihua, it was still not enough. Now there was another Bing Ling. Perhaps the current lineup of South Rudra region couldn't compare to the top 3 regions, and in terms of average strength it couldn't compare to the older regions like Misty Snow region, Cloud Billow region, and the other big regions. However, one had to understand the situation clearly. In the last tea gathering, South Rudra region was a joke. Among the hundreds of people present, only Sikong Shang was from South Rudra region. Who would have thought that after 2 years, South Rudra region would undergo such a huge change, with powerful people emerging in large numbers? Bing Ling had shown her own brilliance, while Mo Yan had sunk into darkness. Of course, he would still be an amazing martial genius in South Rudra region. However, this was the southern regions where there were no top geniuses, only more geniuses. The strength he had displayed was no different from normal geniuses. As for Gu Yun and Qian Yun, although they didn't display too much of their power, compared to their age and improvement in the past couple of years, they couldn't be ignored. What was certain was that in the future tea gathering, they would be the core power of South Rudra region. TSK, what a beautiful girl! Not only has South Rudra region completely changed, even the beauties here are extraordinary. Could it be that the heavens have started to love South Rudra region, and have gathered all the natural essence there? Her name is Murong Qingcheng, right? She is indeed like her name. As soon as Murong Qingcheng went up, most of the young warriors were shocked. Some of the beauties who claimed to be beauties were also secretly jealous. Murong Qingcheng's opponent was not a normal warrior, but the third-ranked young warrior of Snow Iron region. The result was shocking. Her opponent didn't even have the strength to fight back, and had no choice but to admit defeat. The second opponent was even more powerful. He was the 4th-ranked young warrior of Floating Light region. Floating Light region was the region where Edict Prince resided, and was publicly recognized as one of the 3 most powerful regions in the southern regions. If he were to enter Misty Snow region, he would probably be ranked 2nd. However, he still wasn't Murong Qingcheng's opponent. How is this possible? What happened in South Rudra region? That cold beauty Bing Ling is already powerful enough, but this Murong Qingcheng is even more powerful. Not to mention the average strength, South Rudra region is definitely the number 1 region below the 3 most powerful regions. It's too frightening. Unknowingly, South Rudra region had become the center of everyone's discussion, and it had never stopped. Interesting. My hands are itching. In the Thunder region formation, young cult leader Yin Zhongli, who was sitting beside Beast Prince Mo Xiang, stood up and walked up to the stage with a smile. What? Yin Zhongli is going to challenge Murong Qingcheng? Yin Zhongli was very famous in the Thunder region. In the last tea gathering, he was ranked just below Mo Xiang, ranked 3rd in the Thunder region. However, Mo Xiang did not compete with him at that time. Seriously speaking, it was very likely that they were evenly matched. Even if Emociang was stronger, he was only slightly stronger. Both of them had the strength of the top 10 of the southern sector. Yin Zhongli, one of the 10 fake dragons. On the other side, Edict Prince muttered. The beautiful girl named Wuxia shook her head. He will lose. Oh. Edict Prince was slightly surprised. If it were someone else who said this, he would have thought it over. However, since it was Wuxia who said it, he had to believe it even if he didn't want to, even though he knew that it wasn't good to blindly believe it. Wuxia's strength was not as good as his, but only he knew that her eyesight was frightening. It was a kind of deep insight. As the young leader of the Shining School and the great-grandson of the Shining King, Yin Zhongli was undoubtedly powerful. However, he was famous for his speed, which was like a flickering ghost. Once he activated his speed, apart from the Thunder Princess and the other two, everyone else would have a headache. Shoo! 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 A dark yellow light flashed everywhere, and the crowd could no longer see Yin Zhongli's body. Light cut. Suddenly appearing behind Murong Qingcheng, Yin Zhongli waved his arm, and a thin light arc that was dozens of meters long shot out like a flash of light. Crack! The light arc did not hit Murong Qingcheng, but only created a large cluster of sparks on the exposed thunder iron. However, it seemed to be protected by a layer of restrictive energy, and was not damaged in the slightest. Yin Zhongli's brows creased. In that split second, Murong Qingcheng had taken a couple of steps to the side. It was as if she had teleported, which was even faster than teleportation. 1,000 twist 100 stabs. Pushing his speed to the limit, Yin Zhongli would launch an attack every time he turned around. All of a sudden, the whole place was filled with his attacks, which was extremely strange. Heaven's rebuke. A black light flashed through her eyes as Murong Qingcheng found Yin Zhongli's rhythm. She threw out a palm attack in advance, which contained a repulsive force. Not good. Yin Zhongli's body paused, forcefully changing his movement trajectory. Puff! The repulsive force was shapeless and formless. Yin Zhongli was fine, but a young man from the Snow Iron region 1 li behind him was out of luck. He spurted out a mouthful of blood and flew out of the platform. He can actually see through my movement? Yin Zhongli was bewildered. Not only was Yin Zhongli bewildered, even the Thunder Princess and the other two were bewildered. They could only vaguely distinguish Yin Zhongli's movement trajectory from outside the arena. If they were on the scene, they would definitely not be able to attack in advance. No wonder you said that Yin Zhongli would lose. Edict Prince believed that in terms of seeing through movement trajectories, he was not as good as Murong Qingcheng, and his opponent was probably at the same level as Wuxia. In terms of perception, the two of them were absolutely peerless. It's the same in the underground world. It was not the first time that Yi Chan had seen her perception power. That kind of perception power was not very likely to be mental power. Instead, it was a deeper and more mysterious power, a power that no one else could cultivate. Having his movement trajectory seen through continuously, Yin Zhongli finally lost his patience. The reason why he could be ranked 3rd in the Thunder region and think that he would not lose to Emociang was because of his movement skill. But now, his movement skill was useless, and his power was greatly reduced. So what if I've been seen through? Take this move of mine. Yin Zhongli performed a profound martial skill and attacked Murong Qingcheng with all his strength. Flying assassination cut. As a genius disciple of the Sky-Flying Demon Martial School, it was impossible for Murong Qingcheng to not have trained a profound sense martial art. This profound sense martial art of hers was indeed the Flying Sky Assassination Cut, a horrifying killing attack that specialized in assassination. Combined with Murong Qingcheng's powerful observation, she would be able to pinpoint her opponent's weak spot within a second, jump into the air, and kill with one attack. Puff! Yin Zhongli's weak point was hit, and he was sent flying backward while vomiting blood. Unbelievably powerful. Even Yin Zhongli is not her opponent. Could it be that her power is not weaker than Yi Chen's? A small region that has been weak for a long time suddenly has 2 warriors in the top 10. This is crazy. Even the top 3 regions would not be this powerful. The Thunder Princess was a bit surprised at this result. But she was indeed a true dragon-level genius of the southern region. She calmly announced, Murong Qingcheng wins. Murong Qingcheng nodded slightly and turned around to leave the stage. She did not seem to want to continue the battle. Yichan Murong Qingcheng is also powerful. Mu Lingfeng turned his head to look at Yichan. After witnessing the battle between Murong Qingcheng and Yin Zhongli, he really did not know who was stronger, although Yichan had shown more power. Yichan faintly smiled. You only need to know that she is not simple. She always has been. Tuobaku said meaningfully, Yichan, you have to be careful of your position. Not only Murong Qingcheng but Xikong Shang, I also want to beat you. Yichan said casually, if you can, then go and fight. I will be waiting for you here. Haha, if I don't show my power you won't take me seriously. It's my turn. Tuobaku could feel Yichan's domineering aura. So he laughed and walked onto the stage with big steps. His tall and majestic body looked like it was made of steel. Bang! Unstoppable, steady like a mountain. This was the image that Tuobaku gave to everyone. His opponents were defeated one after another under his destructive attacks. I am already numb. Is this really the South Rudra region? His strength is not any weaker than Yi Chen's. 3 people from one region can compete for the top 10 of the southern region. What a frightening lineup. Sizing up Tuobaku on the stage, Edict Prince thought to himself, he should be one of the 10 fake dragons. Adding that Yichan and Murong Qingcheng, the South Rudra region would have 3 fake dragons. They are not to be underestimated. Although he could see how many real Dragon Chi and fake Dragon Chi were in the sky above the Thunder City, he would still have to distinguish them face to face. For example, before Tuobaku went on the stage, he would never associate him with the fake Dragon Chi. Seeing Tuobaku, who was once weaker than him, Yin Chihua felt suffocated for a moment. He murmured, so, he has already caught up to Yichan. Yichan was the target of everyone in the South Rudra region. But now, Tuobaku and Murong Qingcheng had both displayed strength that was not any weaker than Yi Chen's, which made him feel an incomparably heavy pressure. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.